在进入正式访谈之前，在这里跟大家做一个隆重的预告。下一周2月10号播出之后，2月17号和2月24号两周暂停播出。那么在3月3号恢复。那么在这个期间呢，我们知道是我们的新春佳节。那么在新春佳节到来之际，我们国际培训大咖50谈整个栏目和制作团队，我们隆重的给大家推出国际培训大咖50谈新春特辑啊！大家看到我这个虚拟背景，那么这个新春特辑呢，是邀请我们国内15位甚至15位以上的国内最著名的企业大学的校长、领导人、总经理等等和企业培训的这个负责人、思考者、探索者和领导者，请他们到荧幕上来为我们大家分享他们的企业是如何进行人才培养，以适应业务的快速发展的。那么全部的访谈呢是全中文不是英文在翻译。所以呢，在春节期间呢，我们的播放呢时间是初1到15晚上，每天晚上8点到9点钟，每次1个小时左右。希望大家呢能够届时收看。为什么要搞这个春节特辑呢？是因为我们改革开放41年的时间，我们培训专业化道路20年，中国的未来的 GDP 也快速的赶上甚至超过美国。那么我们的人才培养与我们的经济发展是绝对离不开的，是助力了我们的经济发展和企业的腾飞。那么在这个过程当中，中国在自己的企业的成长过程当中都总结出来了哪些成功的、优秀的、创新的人才培养与人才发展的经验呢？那么我们就请这些个大咖们先给我们进来一系列的分享，那么能够让我们在春节期间在享受新春佳节的气氛的同时，也能给我们带来另外一场思想的盛宴。欢迎大家届时收看。好，我们下面返回到我们的正式访谈当中，谢谢。大家好，欢迎大家来到国际培训大咖50谈，我是改进咨询顾立民。上一期我们非常荣幸的请到了年届80的 Dr. Darlene达林婉婷博士婉婷教授来给我们进行了分享。Dr. 婉婷教授呢，他是国际绩效改进这个领域的创建者之一。那么在他几十年的职业生涯当中呢，他为这个领域做出了很多的贡献。那么在上次访谈的过程当中呢，给大家看了我的大蓝书和大绿书等等，以及他写了无数的文章和培养了无数的这个硕士生和博士生等等。那么在上期的访谈当中呢，我们特别提到了他的重要的贡献之一，就是 HPT 模型，人力绩效技术模型，或者叫绩效改进模型。那么这个模型呢是2002年版2004年版还有2012年版这是改进版，也在不断的改进当中。那么这个是绩效改进领域最初的模型之一，也是奠基型的模型之一。凡是学过绩效改进的人呢，可能都接触过这个模型。没错 ，Darlene Van Tien 他就是这个模型的原创者3位主创他3位原创者，他是主创。那么年届80老人行动不便，还特别老太太行动不便，但是对我们的采访非常的认真。我的每一个问题，我的11个问题，每一个问题都用文字给我写下来了答案，所以满满的10几页纸都是他的这个回答的答案。那么而且呢，在访谈的有一个小插曲，在他访谈这个是录播，由于他的这个在他访谈开始的时候，他的灯光不好，就去拿灯光去他的卧室到书房这个期间拿灯光整整40分钟的时间，他的腿脚不灵便，但是他对我们的采访非常的重视，也对中国的小伙伴们寄予了厚望。感谢 Dr. Darlene 婉婷博士。婉婷博士呢50年以来对我们这个领域做出的贡献您的成就可以说使我们望其项背，我们未来一定多学习、多探索、多创新。祝您身体健康，而且呢，希望您以后再有机会给我们进行分享。今天晚上的嘉宾也是一位非常重量级的人物，他的名字叫 Magda Mook， 他是国际教练联合会的首席执行官和执行董事。那么国际教练协会呢，在世界上非常的有影响力，而且呢，在世界上100多个国家都有分会，而且呢，对教练方面的这个发展建立和发展呢，做出了这个重要的贡献。那么今天晚上我们带着一系列的问题，包括对教练 对企业产生什么价值，对个体能够产生价值，教练和个体这个被教练者之间是一个什么样的关系，如何互相的这个促进互相学习和成长。那么典型的教练的流程是什么样子呢？教练的周期又是什么样子呢？等等一系列的问题。好，我们闲话少叙，那么下面我们就隆重请出 Magda Mook。Hi Magda, how are you?
Hi George, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be on the Training Masters series.
It is my pleasure. Always happy to talk to people who are interested in coaching and wanting to spread the good news.
You bet, you bet. First of all, for our audience in front of the camera, and Magda is the CEO of ICF, the International Coaching Federation. She has been with, she's a very senior, very experienced and seasoned coach herself, and also very experienced business management executive running ICF for many, many years. Yes. So we got to ask her a lot of questions. So Magda, not everybody know you. And first of all, thank you for being on our show. And this is probably via Zoom. Everybody's working from Zoom. Sure. And this is the closest way we can get. Will you, first of all, for our audience, would you please introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us where you grew up, where you were born, and where you went to college, what did you study, and where you work, live, and network now?
Certainly. So again, thank you so much for the invitation. I have been with ICF for the last 15 years, which is a long, long time. I grew up in Poland. I moved to the United States in 1996 and have been living in the States since. My family is still in Poland, so I visit quite frequently, not this year. Mind you, or not 2020. I have my undergraduate degree in economics from the Warsaw School of Economics, and my master's degree is in international trade from a Danish Copenhagen Business School. So before being with ICF, I had several years working for the US federal government at the Economic Research Service of US Department of Agriculture. And then I was a director of policy and director of development for the Council of State Governments, which is an organization, not-for-profit organization, representing all three branches of US state government. 15 years ago, 16 this year, I moved to ICF, and I truly found my calling with coaching and with bringing coaching and the potential it creates for individuals, organizations, institutions, countries, regions, the whole planet. So very, very happy to be where I am.
Great, great. So you were born Polish?
Yes, absolutely. Born and raised.
I'm proud Polish. And guess what? I have been Poland. My partner, wow. Mr. Ding Hui, and I have been Poland back in September, late September of 2014. And in April of that year, we debuted our management research funding, our own management improvement model in Indianapolis, Indiana, and during the ICPI conference. And then after that, half a year later, we were invited to present at ISPI EMEA conference in Warsaw.
So, yay!
Yeah.
Warsaw is my hometown, so great. I'm so happy that you came and visit my hometown.
You bet, you bet. We loved Warsaw. We didn't spend too many days. We spent 3 days in there in Warsaw, attending the conference, hosting a half-day workshop there. But we did have a lot of spend some time to tour. We visited the National Museum and the small bars and the old castle, old town of Warsaw was amazing.
Oh, I certainly am biased since I grew up in Warsaw.
Well, everybody's biased about their own hometown.
Right. But I every time I do go back to Warsaw, I just feel like home. So yeah. I'm super glad that you had an opportunity to experience my town.
And also, you have been into you moved to America like 25 quarter century ago. That was 25 years ago.
Yes.
That's exactly. We probably arrived in America at the same time, so we have a lot in common. So
that was something in the water. It must be that year.
You bet.
Yeah, I did not necessarily at that point consider myself staying in the States for as long, but hey, 25, almost 26 years later, here I am.
And I read your bio, and you also worked at the USAID as one of the policy initiators over there.
Yes.
Time.
I worked with USAID originally when I was working with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and then when I moved to the Council of State Governments, I was actually in charge of the project being funded by USAID, which was a super interesting project. Matching the expertise in environmental protection from the U.S. states with Southeast Asia countries.
Right.
So
right.
that was.
I presented. Actually, I presented at USAID in the Ronald Reagan building next to the White House.
Yes.
2017. That was 2017 probably. I made a presentation to the program managers. They prepare food and have a lot of food aid programs to Africa, to some Southeast Asian countries, and so managers.
I guess we just have this international canvas in our backgrounds.
Right. Yeah, great. And so tell first of all, ICF is such a one of the biggest, well, maybe the biggest organization for coaching. So tell us a little bit about, could you tell us a little bit about its history, number of members and services it provides, etc.?
So ICF has been created in 1995. So last year we celebrated our 25th, yet another 25th anniversary. Wow. And it has been created in the United States. In fact, the organization is incorporated in the state of Nevada. And many people believe that ICF was created to make a place for people who are interested in coaching, right? But fortunately, we still have quite a number of original members of ICF, and they all tell us that ICF was created to give credibility to the budding new coaching profession, and place, forum, space for professional coaches to come together was just an additional benefit of creating the organization. And from the very beginning, ICF had this great vision for being an international or a global organization. And so from the very beginning, our name was International Coaching Federation. And right now we have members in over 142 countries. So
142, 142.
Yes, 142, and it's changing just about on a daily basis. So it may be 943 or 4 today. And we started as predominantly North American organization. By now, less than half of our over 40,000 members are outside of North America, and that encompasses both Canada and the United States. So we are having a stronghold in, frankly, absolutely every continent on the face of this planet. And to me, this is one of the greatest accomplishment of the organization, because that shows that coaching as a profession is taking hold and is being in demand. It's being recognized, it's being appreciated everywhere in the world, really.
Right. What's the total number of members?
42,000 right now.
Wow.
So yes, we are by far the largest organization, and not everybody realizes that. To be a member of ICF, one has to be a trained coach. We are not accepting people who are interested in coaching, who wants to learn about coaching. They can all do that without having a permission to be a member. To be a member, one has to have a proven record of having at least 60 hours of coach-specific training, and we're very proud of that. That was not an easy decision to make. That decision was made about 10 years ago, I want to say, but it was important because we are a professional organization. And when you think about the organizations for engineers, lawyers, doctors, right? They require certain level of training before somebody can be a member. So we are the same, and we are one of very, very few coaching organizations that require coach training to be a member. So with that, having 42,000 members around the globe, it's, I think, quite an accomplishment.
It is. It is. I mean, especially you have a bar there. It's not like, okay, I'm interested. I pay my dues and then I become a member. No, it's not. You have the money. You pay the money, and then your interest is that's not enough. There's a third part. You have to have 60 hours, 40 or 60 hours.
60 hours of coach-specific training.
Of proven coaching time that you spend, and so you have to assess them and everything, right? You have.
Well, we offer credentials as the organization. Having a credential is not a requirement for a membership, but we do check if, in fact, people completed their training. We have a system of checking with coach training providers. So we do audits on individuals who are willing to become members of ICF.
Great. That's just a little bit of background. Probably you have seen this a lot because you cover like 142 countries in the world. And as a CEO of such a big organization, you've probably seen this a lot. Coaching in China has been such a hot topic. And there are so many needs out there in organizations, I mean in companies. So in companies and any professionals, and you talk to them, and I told John about this. Like I interviewed him a week ago, and then I told him about this, saying if you talk to anybody about training, about development, 5 out of 10, they will talk about coaching, something, here and there. So coaching has been on everybody's mind, and it's so popular because I believe it is because of its practicality. It's so practical, pragmatic, and it's useful for work. So tell us, as a CEO of ICF, the largest coaching professional organization on planet Earth, can you tell us what coaching is and what does it do?
We define coaching as, first of all, very important, partnership. It's a partnership. It's a meeting of the equals, right? A coach is an expert in coaching process. The coach is an expert in applying the 8 core coaching competencies, and the client is an individual who is whole, who is resourceful, and who more times than not has answers to their own questions. ICF defines coaching as the partnership in a thought-provoking process where the client really is given an opportunity to reach their highest potential, professionally or personally. As you mentioned, especially as we move into younger generations of individuals who are raising to highest levels of organizational, hierarchy, the model of leadership is very different these days, and it calls for self-awareness, it calls for empathy, it calls for inclusion, right? It is not top-down that many of us, we discussed it, we're the same age, we grew up with certain model of leadership. This new way of leading people is very different, and coaching is frankly extremely potent and useful methodology for individuals to learn their own strengths, to manage perhaps some shortcomings, and how they relate to other people that they are working with, either as a leader or as a a person reporting to a leader. So I think coaching allows an individual to seek responses to their own questions. It allows them to get to know self much better, and by doing that, be more alert, be more assertive in a way, but also more aware leader for their organizations.
Thank you for explaining and help us defining that. So between a coach and coachee, that's what the relation they're called, a coach and coachee, right? In English.
Yes, and
Call
in many
or protege.
occasions these days, what we see is that organizations, institutions, corporations, for-profit, not-for-profit, governmental, you name it,
Right.
they recognize the power of coaching, and they are inviting coaching into their organizations. So many times nowadays you see a three-way relationship. So there is a sponsor, and we have it defined as well in our code of ethics. And a sponsor is the institutional persona, if you will, who is sponsoring the coaching, and then there is the relationship between the coach and the coachee. And yes, the relationship between coach and a coachee is the one that really matters. But nowadays we also see organizations that are applying coaching cultures to their organizations, which means that people across the organization have access to coaching. And also recently, ICF issued the new set of competencies for team coaching. So this is the extension of individual coaching that applies to teams, so groups of people who are brought together in order to accomplish certain outcomes together. And again, we just issued the set of coaching competencies in addition to the coaching competencies that are necessary for the successful team coaching engagement.
Well, where do we find this new set of coaching competencies? Are they available online on your
Yes,
website?
yes, yes. So we just rebranded our organization literally Monday. So go to coachingfederation.org. It's our
Right.
new website, and just look into credentialing and standards, and you will see the set of the coaching competencies for team coaching, as much as the competencies, because just last year ICF engaged again. We do it every 5 to 6 years, engaged in the review of our core coaching competencies. We used to operate from 11. We actually reduced the number to 8. And and the new team coaching competencies are being based on the 8 core coaching competencies. We believe that every type of coaching has the core, and then there are some specialties that define perhaps more of the niche type of coaching.
So the ICF, you adopted a new logo, right? Wow, literally a Monday. Wow.
Yes. It's been a long process,
I
believe
know.
me. It's
I
been
know.
almost, well, over a year process.
Right.
But as we were thinking about our organization and how we can best deliver on our vision, which is that coaching is becoming an integral part of a thriving society. So we
Right.
decided that we have to have a more focused approach to different stakeholders in a coaching marketplace. This is why we created and basically evolved our organization, also change of a name from International Coach Federation to International Coaching Federation. And with that, we have the 6 family organizations focusing on credentials and standards, on coach training, on coaching in organizations, on thought leadership, on professional coach, and also on social progress through coaching. And together, it creates this beautiful, what we call One ICF, an organization for everybody in a
Mm-hmm.
broadly defined ecosystem who are
Mm-hmm.
interested in coaching, either as a coach or as a
Mm-hmm.
purchaser of coaching.
Mm-hmm. 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 So, so basically, based on your explanation, as I see it, coaching is kind of a general skill. It applies to all walks of life.
Mm.
Like either you're in finance, you're an engineer, you're a computer programmer. It doesn't matter which occupation or industry or profession you're in, but coaching is a general skill. Is more from the more experienced person to transcend or transfer his or her own learning or experiences to another person in need. And now you have the team coaching competencies, and then you can do that in the team fashion as well. So one to many, one to
Yeah. Yes, and quite frankly, what we do see is that more and more of young people are engaging in coaching. ICF conducts many research studies primarily with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and
right.
we do this study on the awareness of coaching. Over the
Mm-hmm.
years, we noticed that the awareness of coaching is growing exponentially, and
Mm-hmm.
probably not surprisingly, the
Mm-hmm.
awareness of coaching in younger people is
Mm-hmm.
much greater. And also what we know is that many young people being aware of coaching actually expect that their organizations will afford them a
Mm-hmm.
coach, because the organizations want to invest in professional development. So
Mm-hmm.
many people, younger people, use coaching as onboarding technique,
Mm-hmm.
or for the high potentials.
Mm-hmm.
So anymore, as I said, organizations with strong coaching cultures afford coaching to anybody within the organization. When we first started as a profession, yes, you're right that only people at the very high level of organizations were
Right.
typically coached. But then
Right.
it was quickly recognized that in order for the whole organization, the whole enterprise to
Right.
benefit from coaching, more
Right.
people have to have access and have to understand the potential of coaching.
Exactly. During our, when we grow up, and then we heard the word, in the past, there are executive coaching, the
Mm,
word leadership coaching, the word of management coaching.
mm,
So they're all kind of stuck in the top. So
yes,
now they come down to the critical. You build a critical mass. I mean,
yes.
they're to the front, to the middle level managers, to the frontline managers, and even to employees. I mean, individual contributors at organizations.
Yeah,
In an
and I
organization.
think that this is important because, as we know, those people eventually, hopefully, will move up to leadership
Oh, that's
positions and
great.
managerial positions, right? So, in a way, it is preparing them early on for taking responsibilities that well require different way of being.
So do you see, well, every organization, they have their own, we're all from the learning field. We're all, trained as, we're all in the learning and development field. So every company, they have their own curricula, position-based curricula. They have their own IDP, individual development plans, and they have a formal and informal learning or training structures, training systems. So where does, coaching fit in?
We did a very interesting study with Human Capital Institute. Again, the study can be found on our website. And it was to show how coaching is supporting change initiatives. As we
Mm-hmm.
all know, just about every organization is in the midst of some kind of change management process, right? And we also know that the majority of these change management processes will fail. Um, and one of the question we asked was what kind of support organizations are offering for those change management initiatives, and then what really works. And as you can imagine, majority of organizations still offer very traditional ways of support, such as classroom training, or speaker to students kind of thing. And again, coaching and even utilization of coaching skills, but by manager or leader who is trained in coaching has been on the list. So if you think about, if you look into how those services were offered, coaching and managers and leaders using coaching skills were kind of on the bottom of the spectrum, while when we ask the question and what works best, complete flip. So I think with this knowledge now supported by research, we can see that coaching will not necessarily replace, but support and back up more traditional ways of professional development, such as classroom learning. And you know, this is also true that coaching should not be treated as silver bullet for everything.
Right.
There are ways, there are situations, there are circumstances where more traditional learning or training or mentorship could be absolutely a better modality for success, right? But at the same time, you know, let's not forget about coaching, because it is growing that individual capacity to deliver and to be a better contributor to the greater good.
Great, because just now you also mentioned that younger people, like, you know, in the what we call the 80s and born in the 80s and 90s, now maybe very quickly the millennials, so they will come out of work. So, and some of them have probably already started working in the workplace. So they're more kind of prone, and they expect the coaching at their workplace. Why is that? You just mentioned a little bit. Can you tell us? And I mean, you have like 42,000 members, and do you have a demographic analysis, and how many of them are like 80s and 90s? And you probably do.
We see a growing number of younger coaches joining our organization. It's still not the majority. Our majority is they used to be boomers, now are Generation X. So still the same age bracket, if you will, but a different generation, which is interesting. But, and frankly, in Asia, what we see is that younger people who are, as we said before, quite aware of coaching, they want coaches their own age. They are very respectful of their mentors, but for a coach, they want somebody who lives their reality. So that creates a demand for younger coaches. And, you know, if you read economic predictions, by 2025, I believe, millennials will be the greatest portion of the workforce in the world. So we quite can't, and importantly enough, also holding the greatest purchasing power as far as generations are concerned. So this is definitely a generation not to be dismissed, or not to be, you know, not being looked at. And they are aware of coaching. They are loving coaching that allows them the way of exploring their own professional development in a very different ways than many of them perhaps have been, well, brought up in more traditional ways.
So you just said, well, first of all, coaching is is not a silver bullet, but is a general kind of skill. So in your mind's eye, or based on your analysis, should every organization have coach and coachee, that relationship, or the sponsor, that triangle relationship? I mean, or in other words, shall every organization have coaching system or mechanism in their organization?
I believe so. I not just because who I am in my professional life, but I truly do. I think that the coaching is just a different way of charting that roadmap to success.
Right.
And it's very successful. You know, we have many studies about the return on investment. We have many studies on return on expectation from coaching. In fact, we have the whole system of awards called Prism Award for organizations that engage coaching. And it seems to be something that it's working very well, and that is also working extremely naturally with
Right.
individuals and with large corporate systems. So it's not only effective on a one-on-one application, but it's also effective on a systemic level application.
So coaching to and also back on the relationship between coaching and the formal training system or training structure of an organization. So there, can I say that coaching is complementary, kind of add
Yes.
on, provide value add, and then to kind of is a booster or kind of a form. I mean, help
You know,
individuals grow faster and at a higher speed, achieve
I would
faster.
not necessarily, I don't think I would necessarily identify coaching as a booster to traditional to traditional training. It could be,
Right.
and we know it from the study with Human Capital Institute, but it should not, in my opinion, it should not be considered as always add on to something else. Coaching in organizational setting exists very well on its own. It is the leadership development tool. It is a capacity development tool. When we ask people why they engage in coaching, oftentimes it is better communication. It could be showing up better in the executive capacity. It could be self-esteem. There are many ways why people engage in coaching. It could be transition from position to position. It could be preparing. We just talk about millennials becoming a greatest portion of the workforce, and some studies suggest that because there are certain gap between boomers, now Xers in particular, and the millennials, oftentimes millennials become people's managers good 5 years before they are prepared to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a huge gap,
Better
right?
start. Yeah,
And
better
coaching,
start early than later. Yeah.
right? So coaching can very well bridge that gap or shorten that gap in when you actually acquire managerial responsibilities and when you are innately and intellectually prepared to do that.
I totally agree that coaching can help people grow. I mean, individuals or teams grow their professional skills, and by absorbing some experiences from the coach, and they grow faster, they develop faster. My next question is, at workplaces, coaching, the coaching session sometimes is highly private, and sometimes they do it privately session, fashion in a private fashion. Then is it different from psychological or occupational therapy, something like that, not strictly per se occupational therapy, because right now, the technology, the competition, society, and the economic development, I mean, the pressure on every individual at workplace is humongous pressure, and they need to find some, relief and, channels to kind of a balance. So do you see also coaching sessions and give them an opportunity to kind of, relieve themselves or even vent or even, kind of to release themselves? And do you think, I mean, as a side effect or what do you see? What's your opinion on that? You know what I mean?
Well, one of the specialties within coaching industry is life and vision enhancement. So coaching is not always business oriented, right? And you are very right that nowadays, especially with the pandemic, many, and we know it again from the survey that we did with PricewaterhouseCoopers, is that many clients who normally would seek coaching for business reason now basically come to their coaches saying, okay, I can't be a good manager because I can think.
Right.
There is a very fine line. Coaching is not psychology. Coaching is not counseling. And in fact, we do have quite a lot of resources for our coaches to recognize or to try to recognize anyway, when an individual may be in need of psychological help or medical help. And our code of ethics very specifically points our members to refer such individuals to medical personnel because although some of our members are trained as psychologists or counselors, but that's not the persona that they are acting as in their capacity as a coach. But yes, I mean, I think all of us, we always say that no matter what kind of specialty one would say they are doing as a coach, it's always life coaching because we're coaching individuals, we're coaching living human beings. So there always needs to be a little space for that, again with the caveat that it should, if it raises to the occasion of psychological issue, such a person needs to be referred to a professional.
So coaching is a general skill, is on top of many professions, and then is can be applied to any kind of a profession or occupation.
Absolutely.
And it covers a wide range of applications. And because at workplaces or workplaces or organizations any sort, individuals run into so many problems, and personal vision, and envisioning and future, and maybe some perplexation of their career, or maybe sometimes it's skill specific or knowledge specific. Sometimes they just need somebody to share their experiences, like, hey, what did you do when I was my age, 10 years ago? So something like that, right? So right, great. So it does. I mean, it's help. Does it only? Coaching skills only apply to workplace settings? Does it apply like friends and your social life, or even your family members?
So our own organization, ICF, started as life coaching organization, right? And so there was not as much of an application to business at that point. It was more to talk about people's personal life. Did it cross over to professional? Sure. What's my legacy, right? Is it a professional or personal question? Depends who answers, right? It could be
depends
either.
who asks.
Or depends who asks. Very good. Sure. So yes, it is definitely still about 15% of our members identify themselves as life and vision enhancement coaches and specialize in this area. Family or friends. Sometimes, people would say like, oh, so a coach is just like a friend, right? So why would I pay for that service? And the answer is that it is not a friend. The coach is not to be your friend. The coach is to help you see what perhaps you can't see yourself. And the coach is not vested in the outcome. Your friend is, your family is. It may be unconscious bias, but no, they don't want George to move to the US and stay there for 25 years. So if George says, so should I move to Minneapolis? They say, maybe not. Right? While the coach will really work with you to say, why would you consider that as something that you want to do? Is it really what you want to do? And at the end, the decision is yours rather than being influenced by any external force, even with best intentions at heart, right? But in fact, we as an organization, we caution people from coaching family or friends just to remove that conscious or unconscious bias of not being completely neutral in the outcome of coaching.
Thank you. That clears a lot of questions on my mind. We covered its application and areas, so where to cover. So what is there a typical coaching cycle or coaching model or process?
Well, it's a little bit of a yes and no, because as I said, we have the core coaching competencies, and that kind of delineates the process of coaching. However, it's not linear process. It's not as if a coach is using exactly the step 1, 2, 3, through the competencies. It's often moving around and doing it that way. Typically, it's as typical as anything can be typical. More times than not, and it depends a little bit on the geography, more times than not, the typical coaching engagement is at least 3 months, often 6 months. The frequency can be as frequent as once a week session to once a month session. People who are more familiar with coaching typically require a little less frequent conversations. And what we also started talking about is like laser coaching. So it does not have to be an hour. It does not have to be an hour and a half. It could be very quick. I call you and I say, okay, George, I'm in the midst of this conversation. Help me clear my mind. It could be 15 minutes. It could be 20 minutes. And it's enough. There are individuals who would be in the relationship with the coach on that basis. It's not necessarily regular every month or every other week conversations like when I need you, I'll ping you.
Here's $1 million question. A lot of people, next is $1 million question is that does every coach have the correct answers to their coachees' questions?
The coach does not offer answers. That's the biggest perhaps misconception. The coach does not offer answers. Granted, there could be a relationship between the client or coachee and the coach that some sharing of knowledge, sharing of expertise is appropriate. But in general, the coach is not a mentor and therefore is not offering answers. The coach catalyzes a client or the coachee to find answers for themselves. And this is very good question you ask, because now at some points in the relationship between coach and the client, either one has absolutely every right to say, I don't think I can help you any further, or I don't think I'm getting what I need from this relationship, and therefore let's just switch. Switch. I'm a coaching junkie. I love working with very, very different coaches. I sometimes pick my coach just because I don't think I'm going to like that person. I want to experience different ways of coaching. I'm a trained coach. I know the way I'm coaching, but my coach, I often use somebody who I think will push my buttons because I want to be challenged in certain way. And again, as long as I don't think that relationship is useful and moving me forward, I as a client and the coach, him or herself, has every right to say, I don't think this is the best match. I may refer some other coach. I may suggest some other engagement.
Yeah. So every coach, to be qualified as a coach, it must have, like, I have 10 buckets of water and then my coachee has 1 bucket of water, and then only in that position I can give, or not like I have 5 and he has 5, we can coach each other. No, right? So there is a hierarchy of knowledge, abundance of knowledge, or abundance of experiences built up, reserved there, right? And then to the younger, or
well, I think that
earlier journey of their career.
Well, as we said, it is very much up to a client to determine what they consider most useful in a person of their coach, right? They may think, say, I'm a president of a bank. I may think that somebody who was president of some big institution would be a better coach for me because they understand the pressure, the stress, you know, all this. Or I may say, I want somebody who's familiar with financial field because that's the field I'm in, right? And some other person may say, no, I want somebody who knows nothing about my field because maybe I have some blind spots that somebody in the same industry would actually possibly have the same blind spots as I do. So let's just pick an artist. Let's pick a musician. Why not? And so it is very individual to a client, to a coachee, to have a vision of what they would like to in the relationship. So.
Right. So it's not coaching a relationship is not constraint or constrained to age or ranking or your seniority or your seniority or something like that. It's not. It's basically
no. It you know, and this is again what we talk about is that there is absolutely appropriate place for a mentorship, and what you're describing, I think, is perhaps right. It's probably more appropriate for mentorship, and there is absolutely no judgment which one is better. Probably neither is better, and they could work very well together. So an individual will have a mentor, and then can use their coaching ability to discuss it and get the greatest learning out of that.
In your opinion, what is the difference between mentorship and coaching?
So with mentor, in my opinion, mentor is somebody who is much more experienced. It is somebody who's got this great knowledge and can part it and is willing to part it. So mentor is probably more so, a mentor would probe as well. Good mentor would always, but the mentor is sharing their knowledge and expertise. So telling more so and having answers to questions, while the coach is more into supporting an individual to find the answers within themselves.
Great. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for explaining to us. Coaching has come along a history itself. I mean, coaching is a skill. Can you tell a little bit about its brief development history?
You know, some would say that coaching exists since ancient Greece.
I know that.
Right? I'll just go by the history of ICF.
Just a little bit, a mentor. I interviewed Madam Margot Murray. She is a very experienced mentor.
Yes.
Management mentors. Her company is established in the middle of early 70s, 1970s, yes. And she's very senior. And she told me that the word mentor from ancient Greek,
exactly.
The guy
exactly. So with coaching, I'll say that I'll go, as I said, by the history of our own organization, ICF. So 25 years, I'll say, let's go maybe 30, where coaching started emerging as not necessarily completely brand new discipline, but getting its roots from psychology, medicine, counseling, and coming to this very interesting combination, because one of the people who are considered, a forefather of coaching is Julio Olaya, and Julio often says that coaching emerged because nothing else worked. And that was
when did he say that?
Well, he continues to say that, but he probably first time said it about 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Basically saying, there was a void, there was a gap, and the discipline built on existing very set disciplines emerged with
Mm-hmm.
great impact and with great influence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, frankly, during the pandemic last year, many people, many organizations were thinking about, are we gonna survive, right? For us, for the coaching industry, we noticed tremendous increase in demand for coaching, because nothing is certain anymore, right? So what's needed is perhaps a greater level of resilience on the part
Right.
of individuals,
Right.
and it's some of us, I guess, are more innately resilient, either because of our upbringing or our life history. Others are not.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about my own employees. We have phenomenal crew of people, and many of them are young. And I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking, most these younger people on my staff, they never
Mm-hmm.
lived through a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
They are even too young to remember 9/11. They
Mm-hmm.
they don't. They are freaking out because they never, unless there was some, within their family, but on a national or global scale, they never lived through a
Mm-hmm.
crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course they are upset, they are scared, they have
Mm-hmm.
fear. So again, a coach, um, in a very pragmatic way, can
Mm-hmm.
help chart the way, not into what happened before. That's the work for psychologists and counselors. But okay, if we're here now and we want to be there in the
Mm-hmm.
future, how do we do
Mm-hmm.
it? How do we get
Right.
there?
Right. So historically, coaching didn't appear until like in the past a few decades. The needs is there, and that's because the fast economic development. And ICF was founded at that time. The one who seized the opportunity is the founder, ICF founder, Thomas Leonard.
Mhm.
So when you joined, well, you probably joined 15 years ago. He founded 25 years ago. So do you know him personally, or what was he like? I mean,
No,
do you know?
I never met
Oh,
Thomas.
that's right. You joined
Right.
2005. He
Thomas
died
passed away.
2002.
Yeah, so a little bit before I did. Having said that, I have had and still have great honor of meeting many people who were Thomas's contemporaries. And
Right.
although Mr. Leonard is being often quoted as the inventor of ICF, there were many of them in his living room. I have pictures that actually dreamt of creating this organization for this new profession. So I am at awe, I have to tell you, at the foresight they had,
Mhm,
at
mhm,
courage they
mhm,
had to bring about something very different, something
mhm,
new,
mhm,
something unusual, and
mhm,
being so passionate
mhm,
about it that, look at it, 25 years later, we
mhm.
have 40 plus thousand members in 142 countries. That's
Right, right.
extraordinary. Extraordinary. So there are still some of them around, and they're it's just an honor to be able to have discussions with them and learn more about the first days, first
Yeah,
weeks, first months of ICF
right,
being an organization, and now
right,
helping it grow and prosper.
right, right. So, I mean, um, you just mentioned Julio. What is
Mm,
the last name, and can
Olaya.
you tell us that person?
Oh yes, I know Julio quite well, actually.
Yeah,
I
what's his
think
last name?
he is from Uruguay originally,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and he is the forefather of ontological school of ontological coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, just a lovely man. and another one with great vision and passion for coaching.
What is the last name?
You spell it Ollala. Olaya.
Oh, of course.
Oh, of
I
course.
came. Yeah,
You must know. You must know.
Yes,
Julio.
of course. I had a one page on Wikipedia all about him, and great.
Lovely, lovely, lovely man.
Right. Yeah. So, is ICF? I want to ask you about something about Julio Olala, but can you tell us something about him and his what does he do, and just briefly?
You know, Julio. I think that Julio's got a huge influence on promoting coaching in Latin America and in Americas in general, but especially in Latin America, and making sure that there is a space of connecting the art and science. You know, we often talk about coaching as art and science because it is both. It's not just research, it's not just data. It's a lot of empathy, it's a lot of emotional intelligence that goes into the way of being as a coach. And Julio definitely had his great contribution to making sure that we never lost sight of the human factor of coaching.
I remember that he used to be a Chilean, kind of a general secretary of Chilean government or something like that. I remember when I conducted my research, and he's onto ontological.
Yes, ontological. He is often
Right.
considered, the father of school of ontological coaching.
Right. And anyway, and I'm going to quote him. He said, "Why coaching is working because nothing else did."
Yeah.
I never read about it.
I think he's right. You know, and this is why organizations, institutions turned into coaching,
Right.
because nothing else worked.
Okay. Anyway, thank you. So coaching in one word, if I may sum it up, is just inspiration. Is that correct? Inspiration.
Yes, you know, I think
inspire.
coaching is to inspire, and to catalyze the emergence of what's great in each and every one of us.
Right. Inspire and catalyze. Yep. So next question is ICF in China? Of course it is.
Yes. So we have some of our coach training providers present in China. And last I checked, we had 800 plus individuals holding ICF credential in China, in mainland China. And if you wanted to look into it, territories and authorities, then it would be probably good 300-400 more.
You are 42,000 strong right now. I don't know how many members ATD have. I mean, or as a SHRM, have. And you are frequent presenters of ATD and all those big organizations.
ATD actually has similar number of members as we do, not as international. SHRM is way bigger, but also let's not forget SHRM has been around for over 100 years. ATD over 75 years. So we got a little bit of catching up. On to do.
Just 70 years.
But I think that for our 25 years around, we should be proud of our footprint.
Right. SHRM is over 100 years for sure. AMA, I believe, is 108 years now.
Right. And ATD, what was it? There was a San Diego.
1943.
Right. San Diego was the 75th year. Yes.
Right. 78 years now, 77 years. And then ISPI 62. So we're
still youngsters.
But you are stronger. You're the younger. I mean, you're the latecomer, but you have the you're the late starter, but you have all the advantages of the world because
I
of the
think
social
so.
media and technology and everything.
I think so. I think so. And as I said, we again such a great foresight by the founders of the organization that they saw the need, they saw the desire for this new
Right.
discipline to emerge and created the organization.
And we're also looking at AHRD, AETC, um, ST is a Society of Technical Communication. All of those big ones. They're all kind of an IBSTPI, even though they are like 50 years old, nearly 50
Yes,
years.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And
25, we can't anymore get away with teenagers' behavior.
which is your biggest advantage, I think.
Right.
Because the millenniums are coming out, and you said they are going to be the biggest consumers, and they are.
Yes.
Think about the merchandise or the items that we buy when we were a kid. At what and look at what they're playing with nowadays. This is probably the
Right, exactly.
here we go. Probably this is the cheapest thing they buy. I mean, like
They would,
$1,000.
my even my oldest nephew, who is, yeesh, I should know that. He's gonna be 29 this year. Believe it or not, he does not remember rotary phone.
He
All
does
he grew
not.
up, no, all he grew
Wow.
up with were already the punch
The digits. Yeah,
button,
the punch. Yeah, the
and
punch
then
button.
this.
Oh
So
gosh.
I was, my brother and I were talking something about the rotary phone, and he looks at us like, what are you talking about? And we're like, oh man, that's okay. All right. We need to have a reality check of, as
Right,
you
right.
said, what kind
Sometimes,
of life people live, what reality
right,
they have.
right. I just to let you know that I used to work for US West, then Quest Communications, the phone company. So you're talking to the right person, probably.
Exactly.
So did you pay your bills to? You should pay your bills to Bell South, I think.
Yes, Bell South, absolutely.
Yep, you pay your phone bills is covered by
Yes.
Bell South in
Yes.
Kentucky. Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, so you can tell I'm a RBOC RBOC person. The original Bell operating companies RBOC.
Wow.
So yeah, so so you were in Minneapolis, and you have home in. I mean, we're so similar.
I know. It's funny.
It is. So so with 42,000 worldwide, and you're still growing. You're still looking for 142 countries in the world. You're still growing with the newcomers, with the millennials joining you. So what do you see your biggest? First of all, what is ICF is trying to accomplish in the next 5-10 years
We
as a CEO?
Right. So our vision, as I said before, is to see coaching being integral part of a thriving society. And integral part and thriving society are the most important pieces, in my opinion, of that vision statement. The integral part means that more people know about coaching. As I said, we have great penetration as far as awareness is concerned, but application, we still have ways to go.
Right.
It depends on the geography, of course, but when you think about how many people per, say, 1,000 of individuals utilize coaching, we still have gaps to make up for. And also, what we want is that this inspiration, that catalyzing, as we talk about, is available to people so they can thrive in their personal and professional life. One of the greatest desire for ICF is to make sure that the purchasers of coaching, the coachees, the clients, that they understand the difference between professionally trained and professionally prepared coach versus somebody who may call themselves a coach, but they are really not. Coaching is a not regulated profession at the moment. So frankly, anybody can call themselves a coach. We want the clients to be fully aware and educated of how to make choices around securing a coach for them.
Yeah. The other side of the question, or the other side of the coin of this question is, what do you see going to be the biggest obstacles to grow ICF?
Our coaches, and we asked this question actually in our study with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and when we asked this question, majority of people responded that untrained professionals calling themselves coaches is an obstacle. Because individuals who engage those people might perhaps have not the greatest experience, and therefore they are not willing to engage a coach, not realizing that the relationship they were in previously was not coaching really. So we do a lot of education around what coaching is, what coaching is not, what to expect from coaching, what not to expect from coaching. We talk about silver bullet. It is not. So it has to be applied where it has the greatest possibility for success for the client.
So it is really the ones that ruin the party is the ones that are fly on their own. That's why I really like you set a bar to your membership. Like,
yes,
you're
that was the reason. For a good while, we were very open to anybody who was interested in coaching. But at the certain point where we believed we had a critical mass, we had to take a position. And if we wanted coaching to be treated as a profession, we certainly needed to take that step.
Great. Anyway, how do you feel? Next question is about the pandemic. We're still in the middle of it, and we see so many casualties, and it's a disaster global wise. And so what do you see the pandemic will impact the field of coaching?
It is definitely a tragedy and global tragedy, and such an unusual for many of us who never went through anything at the global scale like this. We've seen a lot of increase in demand for coaching. Our members are extremely generous people. We facilitated thousands of hours of pro bono coaching offered to individuals and institutions who were really hit hard by the pandemic. We saw some very elaborate programs of coaching offered to first responders, to medical personnel, to hospitals, nursing staff, all these things. And as we talked earlier, for many people, their lives got shuttered the way they knew it. So, and some definitely are in need of psychological or counseling help, and many may be looking into coaching as an element of building new ways of just moving forward, because that's what we need to do, move forward. To answer directly your question, I think that the demand for coaching and coaches will be steady, if not growing. And many of our coaches took the time of the pandemic to upskill, to take additional training, to gain their credentials. So I think that they are ready. They are ready for the demand that, in my opinion, will be showing up very soon.
Great. Last two questions. If you have a chance to start all over again, what would you have done differently?
With the ICF?
Anything. It's a free, open question.
Very coaching of you. I actually consider myself very lucky that I came about this organization, and I came to it not as a coach, but as an association management professional.
Right.
And I found my match. I am ridiculously passionate about coaching. I think that it is life-changing methodology that should be afforded and available to everybody and anybody. I want coaching to become a way of life. So so my energy, I think, met with the passion for coaching. So would I do anything differently? I'm not so sure. I am not very I am not a very patient person. So I would love for certain things to happen sooner than they did. But I am also a systemically trained coach, and I know that things can't happen until the system is ready for them to happen.
Right. You are now the executive, both the executive director and CEO of ICF. You run the daily operations and so many things, and you have a big team of staff. And so I think, which year did you become CEO?
Excellent question. I want to say 8 years ago. Maybe this is going to be 9th year this year.
9th year. I think the luck. You're not lucky. I mean, the luck belongs to ICF. They are lucky to have you as CEO.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's a compliment, and I think based on my research, your growth rate has really picked up during the past 10 years, and that's of course, your predecessors laid a solid foundation.
Of course, yes.
But like the the late founder, Mr. Leonard, he sees the opportunity, and
yes.
I see as one of that's one of the top leadership. You must have the vision to seize the opportunity of growth too.
Yes.
With or without the pandemic, you have been growing, and during the pandemic, you are not the bystanders. You are the only or the first one in my interview in this series saying that you actually become one of, you work very closely with the essential workers and providing all the coaching sessions. And thank you, or on behalf of all of everybody, thank you for doing that. And I think during the pandemic, everybody has a little bit to contribute, and structural, organizationally or individually, and we're all working towards the good results.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and
it's just tremendous. Many of our members actually would say, they said we as an organization, we as a profession, we were meant, we were built for circumstances like now. So
right. Anyway, thank you so much. And from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of all my viewers in front of the screen,
thank you.
As a closing, you bet. As a closing statement, do you, well, first of all, before that, I want to insert a question. Do you have any big plans for China?
Yes. I think that China, again, it's such a tremendous interest in our credentials, which is only a great reflection of what the Chinese population of professionals are like, wanting to adhere to global standards for coaching. So I'm very pleased to see that and to see the growth of it. And then with such a tremendous economic growth of China, everybody's talking about slowdown of China. It's still tremendous economic growth in comparison to the rest of the universe, I guess. So I think, I hope that we're gonna grow our presence in China by having more credential holders, and also by expanding our coach training opportunities. We know that some of the Chinese universities are interested in coach training. We also, I think that the cadre of especially young leaders and managers would benefit pretty significantly from having access to coaching, or even becoming leaders with the knowledge and application of coaching skills themselves.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I forgot one question is that is coaching being taught in American universities and
Yes.
or the higher
Yes,
education? No.
it is. It is actually. I answer it in two ways. One is that there are several very reputable organizations, universities that teach coaching as part of primarily their business development and executive education. And then there is a growing number of academic institutions that offer coaching to their students to help them with growing their leadership acumen while they are actually being at college.
Right. So coaching is not, so coaching to me to sum up is coaching is not a science, is not a major, but is an integral part of many curriculum at many universities, and its application covers a wide range of almost all walks of life
It
in the
does, and
society.
it does, and actually, which I think is the fairly typical evolution, we start seeing universities offering it as major.
Really?
University of Sydney is offering coaching as major. The Henley School of Business in the United Kingdom is offering that. There are some universities that offer it as the PhD path. So more and more we start seeing coaching being more mainstream. And in a way, you know, I'm thinking about my own adopted profession of association management. When I first started, it was like, yeah, well, whatever. By now, you can have a master's degree in association management. So I think coaching is following the same trajectory.
Yeah, and the trajectory is a foreseeable future. Maybe we can see PhD, doctor in philosophy in coaching,
Yes,
or master degree MS in for coaching. I hope.
I think
And
it's gonna
maybe
be
there's
sooner.
some.
It's gonna be sooner than later, frankly.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, we'll wait and see, and we'll expect that if possible. And also, it becomes a theory. I really expect that some theories and coming out, and
Yes.
of course, coaching itself applies a lot of theory, but we really need to see. I mean, as a young generation, I mean, young organization, young profession, to come out of theory, you have to really have years or decades of research and
Yes.
practice.
And fortunately, we have more and more of research coming our way. Again, for those interested, on our website, we have the research portal, which is available to members and non-members alike, we have, I don't know, 4,000 entries with white papers, dissertations, theses, articles. Just great resource for anybody interested more in the theory behind coaching.
Exactly. There somebody got to do it. Somebody in our generation, better not next, but need to do it and come out
Yes.
and the theory of coaching or something like that to move into the academia world, because without the academia world, and then you cannot breed or foster more younger talents from
Absolutely.
the school, from the universities, and then you
Yes.
have to spend more time and it cost for, to teach them at workplace or their own experience. So the burden will be on the enterprise or on the individuals after they're out of school. So why
Indeed.
don't start earlier if
Exactly.
you have that science?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thank you. As a last question, do you have any advice to younger practitioners in China or developing countries as a whole? We talk about them, but as a closing statement.
I don't know if that's necessarily an advice other than the market is vast. The market still needs to be educated. So my request, perhaps more than an advice, is make sure that you're following the gold standard. Make sure that what you're offering to your clients is top notch. Make sure that you hold that credential. Make sure that you adhere to the code of ethics, and don't give up. We know from our studies that typically the first 3 years in a business are hard. it's true, I guess, for any business, right? So, just don't give up. Don't give up. It is a profession of the future. I strongly believe that. So stick with it. Be proud of it.
You bet. Well, thank you so much, Magda, and well, good luck on your pursuit, and we look forward to hearing more from you again in the future. And I really hope the cause of coaching will be flourishing all over the world.
Thank you. That's certainly the belief and the desire that I share with you. And thank you again for inviting me to your program.
Thank you, and stay safe.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's my interview with Magda Mook. She is the CEO of ICF and also executive director. During our interview, I asked a lot of questions around coaching again, including the definition of coaching. What is a typical process of coaching, and what is a typical cycle of coaching, and also what value does it provide individually and to organizations? So she gave us all the perfect answers, and also I'm so glad to learn that she and I both came to the United States around the same time, and she has been in the U.S. for over 25 years now. So she made a very successful career. Congratulations, Magda, and we look forward to hearing from you again. Thank you. Next week, we are going to have the very honor to interview another very important figure in my life, also in American Learning Development Circle. Her name is Dr. Tsai. Her Chinese name is Tsai Benhong. Yes, she's a Chinese American, and she has been in this field for over 30 years now. And she's one of my heroes in my vicinity, because she graduated from Nankai University, but 4 years ahead of me. And also she graduated from the same master's program in the US. But she went on to pursue her PhD at the University of Minnesota. And since then, she had been training manager, director, VP, CLOs at various Fortune 500 companies. And now she is a she's a VP and talent development officer at Thrivent, one of the Fortune 500 companies in Minnesota. And so next week, we have a lot of questions to ask her, because she has been such a figure ahead of me, and she has been a model for me for over 30 years. So next week, we're going to ask her a lot of questions around organizational effectiveness, around leadership development, et cetera, et cetera. And also, I'm going to ask her the differences between the talent development between the United States and China. What are different? What are the same? So until next week, please stay safe, stay tuned. Thank you, and good night.